Power 88's Organic Jam. How are y'all doing? Jay Psaros and Olivia, how you doing?
We're doing good. How you doing?
Doing great. Hey, I want to thank you both for stopping by tonight. We're going to hear a little bit of music from Jay and Olivia tonight. They plan to play a couple tunes, and we're actually going to get a couple songs off of Jay's brand new album. Played here in the studio tonight. We'll play them off the CD. It's not released yet, is it?
It's not released. It's due out in May. It goes out April 1st to get pressed. So the tracks you have, they're last to final mix. Still got to be mastered, but you guys are getting a little sneak peek at it.
Little sneak peek at what's the name of the album?
It's called On Up the Road.
On Up the Road, and this is your second?
It's my second CD.
It's your second full release.
Second full release, yeah.
Great. And you want to tell the listeners here, we're going to play a couple tunes off of Jay's first full release album, Tripping and Running. You want to tell the listeners a little bit about what you do around here and like where you play and.
Well, I play all over the place, anywhere and everywhere in New England. Musicians go to work, so sometimes I get fortunate. I can do about 2 or 3 quote-unquote shows a year around the city where the draw is good. So this past year we did a homecoming show at the House of Blues in the front room. We did the Foundation Room at the House of Blues. Play up in New Hampshire, I play at the Knot a lot, which is a cool little Irish pub right across from UNH. But a lot of times it's your neighborhood bar. It's wherever. It's down the street where your buddies hang out. We've done Midway Cafe last year. I did Harper's Ferry. This coming year I'm hoping to do Johnny D's and do some venues like that, some places up in Cambridge. But it's a combination. It's a fine combination of trying to pay your bills and trying to push your career forwards. And some nights you get lucky and you play for big rooms with a lot of people. And some nights, more often than not, you play for smaller rooms with not so many people.
Now, you said a few seconds ago that if if you're going to be able to make a job out of this, make a career out of this, when did you know as a musician that this is something that you want to do? Was it before you made your first album, after it, a couple of years before that? When was that time in your life when you said, I know this is what I want to do, I want to make money playing music, performing arts, doing this kind of thing? When did you know about that?
I've always wanted to support myself through the arts, or through music specifically. And it wasn't until after, when I was about 22, I did enough random work, and I realized the things that I didn't want to do, and I knew I loved music. I was doing contracting full-time before music, and selling Christmas trees with my buddy. We'd get 1,000 trees shipped down from Canada, load them off the truck, and sell them. And throughout that time period, I was raising money and just kind of saving some cash and trying to think, okay, how can I do this? And it got to the point where I said, all right, I'm going to try and do music full-time. And I work at a dinner theater in Boston called the Medieval Manor. I was doing that for a couple of years at this point. So I had a steady gig in the arts, which gave me a little bit of confidence to say, okay, maybe I can do this professionally. But at no point was I like, okay, I'm going to do this, because I was never sure that I could support myself. But making Tripping and Running brought enough opportunities that over time I was able to kind of not do the contracting stuff and do music full-time. It wasn't the type of thing where it's one day all of a sudden I have a job in the music industry per se. It was, okay, so I'm making my CD and I'm still working, still doing some contracting, painting, handyman stuff, landscaping, cleaning yards, odds and ends, some guitar lessons here and there. And once the CD came out, I was able to get booked a lot more places. So, okay, let's not do a day with a hammer. Let's do a day with a guitar instead. And over the past year and a half or so, I've been able to build up enough local pubs and whatnot to kind of keep me busy. For me, my goal was always to just keep playing. Especially the way my mind works, I could never sit down and get really into something like music and then wake up the next day and put my attention on something else. It was a little too chaotic for me. So my main intention was to just put myself in a position where I can continue to do what I love to do. And this past year and a half or so, I've slowly made the transition to just be able to do this full time. And you know, when that happens, then you start trying to push your career a little bit harder, and you know, you have your support base coming in, and now you try to grow your fan base. You try and do things that legitimize yourself as a musician.
So you mentioned that you work at the Medieval Manor.
Yes.
And you know a question I'm about to ask right now. We share a couple mutual colleagues on campus right now.
We do.
Here on the Dean campus. Is anything you want to say to Jim and Craig out there? They work at the Medieval Manor as well, and they are full-time faculty members down here at the college, and they handle the theater arts department. Anything you want to say to these guys?
I love you.
That's Olivia. Jimmy and Craig are awesome. And there's a few people at the Manor who have really give their support. And someone like those two, they've been doing arts the majority of their life. And like I said, I came in there when I was about 20, 21 years old. I'm 26 now. And those were a couple of the guys that I could sit down and talk to. And they challenge you. They say, you know, push it when you're on stage. And just working with people like them, they're strong performers. And you got to be on your game. And at first it's a little overwhelming, but then they become your peers and they become your colleagues. And they're always willing to offer good advice to people who show an interest in the arts. And I've learned a lot just from sitting down and talking to them. You know, I've had several conversations with Jimmy. You know, how'd you get into this, and what keeps you going with this? And he you know, gives me his words of advice. And I talk a lot to Craig, too, about our mutual taste in music. You know, he's an old Deadhead, loves the Grateful Dead, loves the jam bands. He's really into songwriters, and they're both guitar players and singers as well. So I've just been very fortunate to be able to work with them on a professional level and learn from just watching them and seeing what 30-plus years in the arts does to someone.
Well, it was one day last summer, I want to say it was July, I walked into Craig's office and he was playing your CD. And if it wasn't for Craig, you probably, the connection wouldn't have been made. You wouldn't even be here tonight. So what happened was you got to thank Craig for getting on here.
I got to thank Craig.
He's the main reason. And he's a great guy.
Thanks, Craig.
He's probably working his butt off somewhere right now on one of the Dean College productions. He puts in a lot of work down here.
Yeah.
Tonight we're going to play a couple tunes. Some of these tunes, are they going to be the first time they're on the radio? I think.
Yeah. Well, the ones from On Up the Road, I believe we're doing. What did I say?
We got two on the CD. It looks like.
Yeah, Almost May in Memphis, and which is one of my personal favorites from the CD. And then the other one. Yeah, Learning to Be Free. That's a lot of my friends' personal favorites on the CD. Those ones have never been on the radio because the CD is not out yet. Mm-hmm. We're just lucky enough today. You know, we went through a bunch of stuff before trying to make this happen, burning the CDs from Olivia's laptop here. And then a fair amount of the songs from Tripping and Running have been on the radio, which has been really cool over the course of the past year or so. But Mountainside has never been on air, so I'm really excited to hear that on air. And you said you play Words a bunch. Oh,
we played that one the most, I want to say.
Yeah.
It really fits in. It's really got a really nice little funky beat going on to it. And I like that line in the song where you say, "It's just me and my acoustic guitar." That's a really cool thing because that's what you do. You're here. You got a backup vocalist with you right now, Olivia. Hey there.
Hey.
And it's just you and your guitar, and now that's a powerful sound that you put out. Now, can you explain maybe some of what's going on there? This music coming straight from your heart, your soul? Is that what it's all about, or what?
It's a mix of everything. Actually, Olivia's folks own a dinner theater, a Chuck Wagon Cowboy Supper Show out in the Northwest called the Rock and Bee Ranch. And I've had this conversation with her dad several times that sometimes you write music and it's introspective and it comes from your heart and you need to get it out of you. But sometimes you just want to write a song for entertainment purposes. And I think I'm in the process of trying to define myself as a songwriter. And some days you get lucky, or some days you really have something that you want to say, and you got to get it out. But other days you want to write a song to just entertain. And Words, I guess, was a song for entertainment purposes. It was one of the first songs you ever wrote with words to it, actually, mm-hmm. Because I didn't start singing until I started working at the Manor, really. But my thing is, if a song is going to be simple, there needs to be some musical technicality in it. Mm-hmm. I mean, we are musicians, so the music comes first, as cliche as that may sound. But if you're going to play 3 chords, you got to do something to spice it up. So if I'm going to play the E, D, and A, which the song is, I'm going to try and finger pick it as much as possible. And that draws from a lot of influences, everyone from Tommy Emmanuel, Keller Williams, Michael Hedges, a lot of finger style and acoustic artists. And I've always had kind of a passion of blending that with a little bit of a pop sensibility. And I have a lot of jamming in my roots, too. So,
had I known that you were a big Keller fan, I would have brought a couple CDs of his tonight.
Oh man,
but
I love Keller.
It didn't happen. I was looking at him. I almost grabbed a couple, but it didn't happen tonight.
I've seen him several times. Last time I saw him, he came to the Paradise, and it's just always such a joy for me to see what he does and he keeps his sets real diverse too. Like one time I saw him, it was just him and his guitar. Next time I saw him, he had all his instruments and was going crazy on the loop pedal, and it gives me a lot of inspiration seeing him. He's a one-man show all the time.
Well, Jay, we're going to play Words right now. This is from the album Tripping and Running. You put this out in 2009, is it, or 2010?
Right on the border, 2009, 2010. I think somewhere around Thanksgiving of '09 is when it came out.
Okay.
So 2009, 2010.
Anything you want to say about the process of the recording of the album that really stood out for you as an artist? Is something that you do differently on the one that you're working on now? Is it something that you learned from this first album, or?
Oh yeah, the first album. Well, there's a saying. It says they say it takes a songwriter 25 years to write their first album. They're expected to write their second in 1. So the first album was just fun. Every time I went in there, and you get all this nice equipment around you, and you're like, wow, this sounds like real music. And so the first time was just a lot of enjoyment. Every time in there was kind of magical to me. And the second time had a bit more of a professional feeling to it. Is okay, I need to come out with a second CD to keep myself in the game here, and I need to maybe think a little bit more of the structure of the songs. I need to think, how can I execute all of this in an efficient manner? So it was definitely a different vibe, but both of them were equally as fun.
So you're on the radio. Let's introduce Words right now. It's up to you.
Cool. This is Words from Tripping and Running.